Got one problem with this dependency on foreign oil, and another problem is going to come from having factories that look like these all across America. And you go into any city around America, and these are the kinds of factories that you're going to see. Run down, decrepit, looks like they'd been built 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago. And you know what? For the most part, they have been built a really long time. Our manufacturing plants in the 1970s had become old and inefficient. They were built in the 1910s, 1920s, 1940s, 1950s, and you know, they're 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, and the world has moved on. People are more efficient. They do things faster, better than we are. But American factories hadn't kept pace. So we had forgotten about that. We had forgotten that the prosperity our country saw in the 40s and 50s was due to the fact that we could make a lot because we had access to raw materials around the world. Look, by the 1970s, and you can see that with this chart that's just over here on the screen, we are importing more than we're exporting. Well, how do you know, Mr. D? Because anything below this line right here means that we are buying more than we're selling. We have to pay people more than they pay us. And you can see that right here it's about equal. We're selling about as much to the world as we are buying from the world. But right here in the 1970s it begins to dip and fight that line, and then and then it stays down, and then it gets a little better, and then man. And then it begins to tick back up again here in the late 2000s. So we are buying way more than we are selling to other countries. This is the evidence that we have a manufacturing base that isn't keeping up. And if we have so many people that are no longer in jobs making things, well then what is that going to look like to our unemployment rate? And that is right here. Right, 70, 72, right, and then unemployment rate goes up, and then unemployment rate goes up, and you can see a direct correlation between how much we buy from other places and the unemployment rate. I mean, look at that. You can see it almost overlaps, doesn't it? That little section right here. Because as America is making more, she has more of its people in work. And when it's not making as much, when it's buying from other places, unemployment goes up. So what you can see here pretty clearly, I feel like, as you look at this inverse relationship, what you can see here, I think, is just how much Americans are beginning to struggle. Because our economy has gone stagnant. It's gone stagnant. Consumer demand can't increase because unemployment is too high. But it's not high enough to make demand fall. Add in inflation to that, right? Because take a look at this, right? There's your inflation rate. You can see inflation going way up where the prices of goods go up and value of money falls, right? We have all these things contributing to a disaster here in America. A strange kind of recession that's unique, that Americans really hadn't experienced before.